If you're used to being around this channel, then you already know we're about to talk about locks, but today's video is a little bit different than the videos I've been sharing. I've been educating, sharing a little bit about my journey, but today I have the privilege of having Tanielle on the channel, aka Locks So Fine on YouTube. And today we're just going to talk about what it's like having locks. We're going to give you insight. We're going to have this be a very transparent and honest conversation, something a little bit different than what we're used to. I'll give just a little bit of precursor to this conversation. Before I started my lock channel, I actually wanted a space where women can talk about what it's like having natural hair and what that actually means for us. As we know, there are a lot of messages out there that try to sway us towards the European standards of beauty, and we're trying to break that. And I think that locks actually break that in so many different ways. But today we're just going to talk about all things locks, our journeys. Hopefully you can learn. Tanielle has microlocs or interlocked hair. Well, both of our hair is interlocked, and as you can see, it's a different size. I don't even know what I would call mine because I'm not traditional size. I'm not microlocs. I'm somewhere in between. But we're just going to talk about our journeys, and depending on where you are, I know some individuals with sister locks watch this channel, some with traditional, some with freeform. Hopefully, you can learn something from it. So, Tanielle, I'm going to let you introduce yourself before we dive into the questions.
Hey guys, my name is Tanielle, like Danielle with a T, and I am Tanielle / Locks So Fine on YouTube. And I'm just here to talk about my lock journey. On my channel, we talk about locks from my perspective, which is fine and low density hair. I think it's an underrepresented population within locks, and I just like to give people a realistic example of what it might look like if your hair doesn't have the fullness that some of our other sisters have. So I'm super excited to be here. Everybody already knows, if you have seen my videos, I have a lock crush on Laura. So it's so cool that she has invited me to be on her channel.
Likewise, if you've been here, you've heard me reference the Locked Mama, which was her previous YouTube name.
Yeah.
So now it's Locks So Fine. So it's super exciting that we can actually connect and talk about locks. So the first question is, Tanielle, what led you to get locks?
Like just the truth is that I got locks because I felt like at the point that I was at that point in my life, I just wasn't doing a good job taking care of my hair. And it was for a lot of reasons. I just didn't enjoy taking care of my hair. It was frustrating to me. I had gotten to the point where like it seemed like every style that I tried on my hair, it didn't last, and my hair was soft, and like the fineness of it all, it was just really getting frustrating to me. So I had spent like the previous, I don't know, 2 years pulling my hair back all the time. It was breaking off in some spots. I was doing the whole protective styling, which was basically like tension producing styles, like braids and things like that periodically as well. And I just was like, what if I could wake up in the morning and not have to worry about my hair? Like, what if that could be a reality for me continuously? And I ran into somebody, and she had her hair looked similar to what mine looked like, and I was like, "What? That is exactly what I'm talking about." Because she was maintaining the how do you say? Well, how would I say it? Like, I guess at that point, yes, she had curly ends of her hair, but it always looked like that. And so I started asking her questions about it, and I realized that might be the solution for me to have an attractive style for my hair without having to do it. Because even my husband, who's like super cool, he was like, I don't know, you might want to start combing your hair, because I just like was not doing anything to it. So that's where it all came about. And I was like, it was like 2 years before I actually got the locks that I was going through that inner battle about it and really wasn't taking very good care of my hair.
I love that. I love that you talked about how protective styles can be more damaging than actually protective, because that's huge. And also learning to take care of our hair too, because most of the times when we're styling our hair, whether it's with a protective style or something, we're covering it. We're not dealing with it. It's almost like a break. And then you'll find that many times a lot of loose naturals, when their hair is not done, they're covering their hair, and it's like, oh, my hair is not done, and that bothers me. I don't know. Like, it's our natural hair. But yes.
Yeah. But I get that at the same time, because it's kind of like, I don't know of another culture whose hair is such a big stressor to them.
Yes.
Because in order to maintain our hair, it is a lot of work. And so, and I feel like women, like, it's okay for us to admit that, you know, that for us, like hair is a big deal. There's literally a $1 billion industry about hair and like, you know, globally, black, white, whatever. But for African American women or women with, you know, more coily type of hair, you don't have to be African American. I mean, it can seriously be a struggle. And, but also on the flip side of that, it's like we want to look good. And I think that's where the covering comes up. It's like, well, it's a lot of work. I got enough stress in my life. So let me cover it up. But then we end up damaging it, losing our edges. And, you know, I've been to the lost edges land. And I came back thankfully intact now, but I still have some like, you know, damage and stuff from it. But I mean, I think that's the reason why it's a lot of work.
Yes. And I think about, because my daughter, who's 8 months old right now, earlier today, I was doing her hair and she's loosely natural, but I really want to lock her hair if she allows me to. But I was looking at the texture of her hair and I realized that she has finer hair, even though it's 4C, and then it's low porosity too. But this is all terminology that I did not know for the long details later on. So now I'm like, okay, I know exactly what she needs. I know her hair is going to have a hard time getting moisture in, so we need to do this. And it's interesting because I want to raise her up to be confident and knowing how to take care of her hair. But I also wonder, I'm curious about your thoughts. Do you think that there's a possibility where we can change the narrative that black hair is challenging to take care of? Do you think it's a narrative that we've been fed, or do you think that there's lack of information within the community of how we can care for our hair and just the unique needs that it has?
I think it's both because, like, I mean, if you look back even historically at photos of people of African descent, I think because they didn't have the time, you know, whether it was during, like, I don't know, we want to go back as far as like slavery or whatever, or the resources and to take care of their hair, they ended up with very little hair. Right, the hair was really short, and then they started doing the same thing. I mean, their protective styles didn't involve like wigs and weaves, but they still were braiding. Right, they were doing styles that kept the hair bound and out of the way and protected until they could have to deal with it again because it was just, you know, the tangling and different things like that. And but it's true though that it does tangle more easily, and that has to do with just the nature of the hair. Right, even Caucasian people, my husband's hair is curly. It takes a little bit more work than like, you know, his buddies who don't have curly hair. So I think we could change the narrative though, Laura, and say less about African American hair and more about curly or coily, or, you know, the actual, what is the hair, not the race of the person who has the hair, because that's what takes a little bit more effort, maybe is a better word to use, than work, just because that hair is more fragile. I mean, and it just is.
Yes.
So that's what my answer to that would be. Because, like, for example, like you were talking about your daughter, my daughter her hair is straight mainly with a little bit of wave, and it tends towards drier and it's finer, but it's not a lot of effort. But she's still, you know, she's half African American, half white, but at the same time, like, you can't, that's a whole nother discussion. Ooh, child, don't get me started on whether or not my child is African American or whether or not she can claim that because her hair is like really straight or whatever. But so if we take that away, like let's take the race part out of it, I guess, and make it more towards about like what the actual hair is like, rather than like black hair. Or even, like some people say like ethnic hair or, you know, whatever. Because I know white people with aka like so-called nappy hair.
Exactly.
Because it's about what the coil of the hair and all that. And even too, because like I know I posted in the group one time, the Locs So Fine group on Facebook, and I posted in there about like 3A, 3B, 3C or whatever. And this lady was like, so what? And I was like, at first I was like, why you always gotta be like, why you starting something? But I get what she's saying though, like, why are we classifying it? Because it seems like to me that people are basically saying that like the lower the number and letter, then the better the hair, which is not what I was saying. It was more about, again, knowing where you fall on that can give you some clues into what your lock journey is going to be like, because it's very much harder to lock 3A hair than it is 4C hair, depending on what method that you're using. So it's more about that, but I get what she's saying too, where people feel like the closer to white you get on the hair spectrum. Am I allowed to say on your channel? I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yes.
The better your hair, which is not where I was going with that, but a lot of people do feel like that. And maybe we can have another discussion later about colorism, about what makes you African American, what makes you. I feel like that very much ties into locks, and maybe that's a relevant conversation. But I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, and even the terminology African
Yeah.
American, because I am African by descent, like Kenyan specifically. But in America, of course, like the label, there's no separation between African and African American many times. When, yeah, it's a whole
Yeah.
nother conversation. It's
Or
a
Dominican, or like I lived in Ecuador and there's black people down there and they thought I was Ecuadorian, but it's even there, like, why do people do that? It's global. Afro-Ecuadorian is what they were called, and but when they came here to the United States, like some of my friends ended up moving here and they speak Spanish fluently. They're from Ecuador and they were still, African American. But even I think the government does have a classification for them, like if you're Hispanic because descent though. So they're kind of but in the day-to-day life, people are like, yeah, you're black. And they're like, well, no, but I'm this, it kind of like, it means that you have to negate all the rest of who you are, I
exactly,
guess. But then
yeah.
at the same time, like, for example, I bring up my daughter again. Like my daughter came out and I about fell out because she for real looks like she's white and she has blonde hair. And my son did not come out like that. But then that person gets their blackness taken away because the outward, it doesn't matter your bloodline. It matters like what you look like. I feel like people say, and that's not really true because it negates, I guess, in a lot of ways, the rest of your heritage. So we said we weren't gonna go there, and look at us going there.
It's
Look
a
at
conversation.
conversation. But it has to do with hair, though.
It all ties together. Yes. I don't know if I talked about how I started my lock journey. I just got tired of covering my hair and I wanted to be able to style my own hair. I don't think I ever went through a period of time where my hair was just worn naturally. And I knew that locks would allow me to do that. Actually, my last straw was when I was getting married and I was trying to figure out how I was going to style my hair. And the only acceptable hairstyle at that time was either getting some type of sleek look. And this wasn't that I told myself this was society standards. And like people are telling me, oh, are you going to get a wig? Are you going to do this? But it's your wedding day. Don't you want to look pretty? I was used to wearing Marley twists, wearing my afro. And honestly, I wanted to wear my afro to my wedding. And then that's when I was like, after this, no. So what I actually did was I got afro clip-ins for my wedding day. And then after that, I was like, that's it. I'm not doing extensions anymore. I'm just going to wear my hair and no one's going to tell me anything. So going on to the next question, what did you know about the locking process before you got locks?
Girl, nothing. It's not what I should have known. I did listen. Now I'm like preaching from the rooftop. You better do your research. You better know. I didn't really know a lot. I did a lot of research, but again, just like everybody else does, if you guys have seen my microloc rant video, like I say in there, don't do like some of us have done because people are, it's so popular, people are getting scammed and stuff. But, I knew the process of like the comb coil method of locking hair very well because my sister and my brother-in-law, my best friend, her husband, like several people I knew had started with 2-strand twists or they had started with coiling. So I understood that, but I didn't really understand, and palm rolling, I guess, but I didn't understand these type of locks as well as I should have. Like the interlocking process, like I was like thinking I was going to go in there. I'm being completely honest. And I was like, why is she scheduling this over 2 days? Like, how could this possibly take so long? And over the progression of my consultations up until that point, I had started getting more glimpses into, okay, like the first lady was like, she didn't know what sisterlocs was. She was from Jamaica and she had started my friend's locks with 2-strand twists. And I was trying to tell her I wanted sisterlocs. And she was like, well, I'm from sisterlocs means you sister hair into the other hair. So it was adding hair into that hair. And she used a crochet hook. That was the first entry into like, oh, okay. It basically is like webbing the hair into each other. But as far as like the process, things like, for example, as your hair grows and it gets re-interlocked, then that hair looks different than the original locks that you got. Like I think I made a video where I was like, issues I'm having with my hair, which is like, oh my God, it wasn't an issue, it's part of the process. But at the time I was like, oh, my hair, where it was like this much was like straight because is where she had interlocked it. And then it was like, the diameter wasn't as big as anymore towards the end. And you can even see that here. I don't know if I can get close enough to see, but you can see from here to there.
Oh yeah.
Is all what that's been interlocked, right? And then from there to there is the original interlock, right? So that, imagine it when it was like this long and then it was that long and then it looked weird to
Yeah.
me. I didn't have a real understanding of what, basically that's what my hair over time is going to look more and more like. And so I didn't really understand a lot about it. It was more to me about what it was going to look like, which I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, this is what it's going to look like. And even that, I would say one thing I did do well is that I made sure I knew what mature locks look like, which a lot of people don't. So, but I didn't understand like the process of everything that was going to happen up until the time then it took for, and up until the time that it did happen.
Yeah.
And I was naive enough to think that it didn't matter how much I knew because my loctician knew. And that's not the way to go about it. And like, even like do you watch Miss Jean G, her channel? She has a channel here on YouTube, and she is actually a sister lock consultant, and she wrote on that microloc rant video. She was like, I'm asking people, what do you know when they come in for a consultation? And a lot of them are saying not much. And it's, then that's coming from the person doing consultation. So yeah, but I have a very good loctician, and she has been educated. Like, she talked to me, y'all, the whole installation process. She was telling me this. So she's been very integral in me learning. And like, I can get in her DMs and say, hey, what is this? And she taught me about, what those little white things are, as a, it's not dandruff, you can't pick it out. And like, just different questions that I have had throughout the last year. She's been like right there answering them. So that's the long answer to say not enough.
No, that's great. And you need to check out Tanielle's rant video that she recently put up. I don't think you titled it a rant video, but she goes into detail about really important things that people need to know before they get locks and as they have locks. I think it just is great insight because it's not all roses. It's not all wonderful. There are also some people who get burned along this process by unfortunate practices, like people charging an excessive amount and people doing things to their hair that they didn't ask for. So I would say check that out. And much like you, I didn't know much about locks. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and I figured, okay, I foresee hair. It can't be that hard. I'm just going to put my hair. I actually didn't think that I'd be able to start with twists. I learned that through a YouTube video. So prior to getting this set, years ago, I had comb coils installed, but they just wouldn't stay in my hair. Every time I was going back to the loctician, it's like we were restarting the lock journey. And at that point, I was like, I can't pay you to restart this journey every time I come in. Again, this was negligence on my part because at that time, I didn't research. I just thought as long as I go to my loctician, she'll take care of my hair. Well, I ended up paying for it because my hair would unravel. I just wasn't taking care of it well. Then I came across a YouTube video of someone who had 2-strand twists and they left them. And honestly, the reason why I started with 2-strand twists was because I remembered when my hair would unravel, and 2, I wanted my hair to be in a style that looked like it was intentionally that way. That way, if I got into the frizz portion, it would at least look like I just have 2-strand twists, which was a lie because my hair frizzed at that point. It still was the starter lock phase. So I didn't know anything either, and I learned as I went. And I think both of us would agree that a key part of this journey and being successful is really doing your research and understanding what your hair is doing, and also seeing where you can be a part of the process. I self-maintain, but Tanielle, you go to a loctician to take care of your locks, but as we can see that we both equally need to be informed, regardless of whether you're doing it yourself or whether you're going to somebody else.
Yeah. And you don't have to, like, I mean, we say that, but guys, you don't have to know everything when you start. I think you just have to have realistic expectations. You have to know enough to know, like, what to expect at each, maybe like overall view of what to expect at each stage, because you'll have a lot to learn. It's just like whenever, like, I went natural 2009, 2008. So a really, really long time ago. And I remember like every day spraying my hair with the spray bottle to try to get my perm ends to curl. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. But the fortunate thing about that, and the fortunate thing about me and about Laura and channels like this, is that right around that time was whenever the Chic Natural and Natural 85 and Candy Loves Ya, and I could tell you all these girls that were like, y'all help me. And they were creating content about something that was new to so many of us. And so that's what I love about being here on this platform, is because as this movement is like moving through and more women are embracing it, they have people who are out here talking about it. And the more that people talk about it, the easier it is to do your research. And I would say even like 2 to 3 years ago, it was hard to find somebody who wasn't just saying, okay, look at my locks, like, well, they're so pretty. And they were talking about the tough things and, how their process was going and like things about how to maintain or like, how to interlock. And it was just more choices of people to follow, which I think helps. And that's what YouTube really is all about, right? About education and being able to find solutions and stuff. So, um, I just want to throw that in there too, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was copying what they were doing. They were like, I use this and I don't use this shampoo and I use that shampoo. I was just doing what they were doing until I figured it out for myself. So
Yeah. Ask questions too. Even if you might not come with information, ask questions about your hair. Why is my hair doing this? Like Tanielle reached out to her loctician, like, hey, I noticed this. What's going on? That's another way that you can learn. So next we're going to talk about the most challenging part about having starter locks.
the most challenging part for me, honestly, was just how they looked at first. And, we'll hype each other up in our Facebook groups and, oh, it looks amazing. But I did not feel like it looked amazing. I still look back and was like, oh my gosh, it did not look amazing. The reactions to other people. At the time, I was feeling myself though, y'all. You couldn't tell me anything. And I'm glad. I'm glad that I was that confident and it didn't bother me. But I think that the most challenging part for me was the way it looked. So what I did for the majority of like the first little while was I wore styles where it wasn't like I didn't wear my hair like this, which is what I will do 90% of the time now. I did a lot of like, flat twists right here and right here in a little ponytail. I did a lot of like this style where you do like this and then you kind of pull it back on, which now it looks weird, but you pull it back on each side to where it's not just laying flat by my ears, because my hair would lay flat by my ears. And so it was a challenge of fullness for me because of the density of my hair. And the fact that unlike a lot of people, even when they have interlocks, when they start their locks, it's like you see them, it's fluffy, right? But what happens when your hair is finer, especially when the density of your hair is low, is that it sits flat. It sits really flat. And so even now I could press my hair like all the way down to it, and I had to kind of fluff it out to get a little bit more body to it. The other thing was because of that, like the softness of my hair, I found myself frustrated a lot because I was having to get a lot of repairs, which my loctician did prepare me for it. And a lot of people had said that too. And I think that's common really no matter what the density of your hair is, but especially mine around like the nape of my hair being really soft. I would get a lot of holes. I would get like slippage a lot where it would be like 2 to 3 inches of slippage and she would have to repair locks and things like that. So I would say that that was the most challenging thing at the beginning for me, was just like realizing that the challenges that come with my hair type, which I knew going in, like it's different knowing about them and actually, going through the experience of having them, and then like other people's opinions and how it looked at first during what I like to call now the starter phase and not the ugly phase. But it doesn't look appealing at first.
Yes.
Yeah, I have like this little picture of like the little toy on Toy Story. Is it Toy Story that where Sid like messed that little toy up and he had like plucky things coming out of his hair? You know what I'm talking about? Or
I'll
the
have
guy
to
from
look
Don't
that
Be
up and see.
with the ponytail. I'll have to send it to you, Laura, but it's really funny. It reminded me of that. So
That is so funny. You mentioned one thing that I would say was one of the most challenging parts of my starter lock phase was just the opinions and comments of everyone. Even though when I started, I was like, I don't care, I'm doing this regardless. When you hear so many people ask, what's going on with your hair? What are you doing? What's the
yes.
plan? It gets to you after a certain point, and you even start to question yourself, like, wait, is it gonna? Because you haven't been on the journey before, so you really don't know what your hair is gonna look like. But you're like, yeah,
Right.
just wait and see. I remember telling people that my hair was gonna thicken up because when my 2-strand twists were very thin at first, and I remember my husband was laughing at me, and he's like, "How's your hair gonna get thicker from that?" It's
It's
gonna get
gonna swell. It's
thicker.
gonna
Yes.
swell.
That's all I do. But I think that was one of the most challenging parts, was just what people have to say. And then I had unraveling too. I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel, but the ends of my hair were heat damaged for when I was a loose natural. So those ends used to unravel quite a bit. The nape of my neck used to unravel quite a bit. These up here, for whatever reason, used to unravel. So I was constantly retwisting it back up. And I think that was frustrating because I kept feeling like I was starting over, even though my hair was making progress. Eventually I cut those ends off, but unraveling was challenging.
Yeah, that's tough for most everybody's starter phase you get unraveling and stuff.
Yes, it's like, why is my hair not locking? Because we're ready to
Yeah.
have that mature hair. My hair is not fully mature yet either. I think people might think that it is from afar, but if I was to show you some strands up close, you'd be able to see that it's not fully there yet. So it's a journey. Next, we're going to talk about what did you enjoy most about your starter lock phase. We hear a lot of challenges with the starter lock phase, but I think there are parts that are enjoyable about that.
Um, I think that how excited I was,
Yeah.
like the excitement and the anticipation and like how cool everything is and like, trying new things. When I was first locked, after I got past like the phase where it was like really, really flat, then like towards the middle, I started experimenting, which was good and bad because like it was bad because with my type of hair, I probably shouldn't have been manipulating it as much, which I learned once I started getting a bunch of slippage from pulling on my hair. But still, like even through that and like having to get some stuff fixed, it was just really exciting. Like I was doing roller sets and I tried this and I was like, I like learning and I'm an instructor. I like teaching people things and I'm like a person who has a thirst for knowledge. And so like every time I learned something new, I wanted to share it. And it was just exciting to talk about and to, get involved with people and follow people on Instagram and just like that newness of it all is what I really enjoyed about the starter phase. And I feel like I made like so many new contacts and stuff. I remember I met Lena, so I was like, oh, okay, that was really cool meeting her. I think it's Lena. It might be Lena. I always pronounce her name, but that was the most exciting part for me. And then also seeing like I feel like every day something changed. It's like having a newborn baby. You have your they actually call them baby locks. When like after the first 2 weeks, you're like, oh man, they're frizzing. Oh man, now they're more frizzing. Oh, look at that. And like now they're curling on the end. And then you would take a picture and then like 30 days later, it would look even different. Like every day was something new to be excited about. And that was my favorite part.
Yes, I totally agree. The changes too can be exciting. And I feel like if you're not used to doing things with your own hair, if you've worn extensions for a while or you haven't had that experience, then the starter lock phase is a great time because now you're paying close attention to your hair and the changes that are happening. For me, it was a community. I met so many people just from here. At the time where my confidence was supposed to be low, that's when I was meeting all these different women. Some of my great connections right now. I mean, we've met over here so far, but yeah, I met some really amazing people just from here, and we found that we actually. What's interesting about the lock community is we end up having a lot of things in common. They're like things that we all just naturally gravitate towards, which is so interesting. Like we were talking about minimalism the other, yeah, it's just a thing, like natural products, natural things, just so it's really nice that there's a community. And what I always say is that no shade, no offense to anybody who wears hair extensions or weave or anything, but what I've seen with the community where people wear weave and different kinds of extensions, it's always the lace is not on right or that hair is which I don't even know what the terminology is because it's been a while since, but with the lock community it's like, oh my gosh, your hair is budding, I can see this, oh my goodness, did you just start your locks, you're gonna get there, I see, like do you it's an uplifting community.
And it's not just on the internet. It's not just on the internet. I was telling her everywhere I go, every single day. Today, nobody said anything to me because I didn't go anywhere. Yesterday, at the library, hey, can I look? Are those sister locks? At the post office, whoa, your hair. At church. Now, what did you got done to you? Let me see this. Like, I was going to get my hair like, it's so many people asking so many questions. And everywhere I go, like, I getting to the point I was telling Laura, I was like, I need to get me a card. A lot of mine card, because she was saying that she knew somebody who had a card, because they asked me all the time. I'm like, okay, well, I have a YouTube, and they're like, oh, so what is it? At Sam's Club the other day, you're supposed to scan your receipt, and then they scan your items in your cart before you leave. It's like holding up the line to write my name on something so that she could go look me up later, because she was like, oh man, I just want your hair. So it's like people, it's like us with each other, and then also other people when they see our hair, it makes them happy and excited.
It's a whole thing, and it's so exciting. I think I love that we can talk about our hair now, like in a way that's positive. So what advice would you have for somebody with current starter locks or someone who's new to their lock journey?
My first piece of advice would be that it's your journey. That
Mm,
would be I want you to close your eyes and say, this is my journey, and to really like look inside. And I don't want to get like super deep or weird, but like look inside, and like everything that is worth doing that I've ever done, I had a why. I
mm,
did. I
yeah.
had a why, and my why was very clear to me. If when I was paying off debt, when I was getting through school, when I was deciding what relationships to be in, and unlike a lot of different things that you can do to your hair, especially if you go through the micro lock or the sister lock, it is like a big investment of your time and energy and your finances. Especially if you're having somebody else do it, and so really like decide on that. So then when people are saying negative things, when people are not really understanding, when you're frustrated and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to cut these off. This is too much work. Or, why does this keep failing? Or, I can't get rid of this. I can't get rid of that. Like you're realizing, okay, no, but you know what? This is why I did this. And so it's worth it. I would say to definitely like make sure that you keep that at the forefront of your mind. The other reason why I say to make sure that you know that it's like your journey is because um it's a good thing to have a lot of community, but also the bad thing about having a lot of community is that you get a lot of opinions.
Mhm.
And especially when you're on the internet, and even dealing with your own loctician, they know your hair as much as they can know your hair, but you're the one who lives with it on your head. And so to a certain extent, you have to be willing to try and like create a process for yourself that's healthy for your hair. I would say that too. And then the last thing I would say is that like do not be negligent of your hair just because the style is so called hair freedom. It still doesn't mean that you don't need to know and take very good care of the hair that's on your head. And because you see it a lot where people are like, oh, they stop getting their reties, they stop paying attention to things, like start breaking, especially at that starter phase. You want to start off on a really, really good foot with healthy hair and good habits from the beginning, and don't start all the abuse and all the things that comes with just not paying attention to your hair because you think hair freedom means that you don't have to do anything, because you do have to do something. You still need to nurture and care for your hair in your life, especially in the starter phase. So those will be the things that I would say. Oh, last one, this one's free.
Yes.
Do not compare your hair to other people's hair with the intention of, okay, you can compare your hair to other people's hair. Okay. Look for somebody though who's similar, who like look at, their hair practices and who's taking care of the hair and all those type of things like that as a guide or a prediction of what might happen in the future, but not as an ideal. So a guide, not an ideal.
I like that.
Right. So that's what you should kind of look at, because when you look at things like an idea, that's when people get disappointed. That's when people get locks in the first place, knowing good and well their hair is not going to look like that. And no shade, again, we say that a lot about some of the bigger people, but there's a reason why. For example, I hope I'm allowed to say this, but like for example, Whitney White in the natural hair community. Whitney White is a person who you want to watch do her hair because genetics gave her a heck of a head of hair. Like it is like, I mean, it's curl, it's just, and it behaves, and she's just, the twist outs are just like mesmerizing. The same thing with Kendra Kinshay in locks, and the same thing with Kiki J in locks, and some of the other girls whose hair is just genetically big and full like that. It can take a lot of abuse. I only do this on my locks. Well, that's probably gonna work for her, and she don't have to braid and band, and she don't do any of that stuff. But you can use it again as like a guide, maybe as like to the process, but not the ideal based on like what your hair is going to do, because it's probably not going to do that.
Like honestly, I think that was one big reality check that I had to, because I was on Pinterest, I was on Instagram. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
here's 4C. Okay, good. Then mine's gonna look like this, which was I in for a big surprise. So definitely I would agree with you with using other people's journeys as a guide and not necessarily, I love what you said about thinking about your why. Why are you on this journey? If you're on this journey for your hair to look a certain way, I don't know if that's enough to get you through the lock journey, if it's just the aesthetic look.
And not only that, but also, Laura, because locks change. Like,
Yes.
especially when the people who are like, I want my hair to look like even mine, because my hair is not even really locked yet. So, I mean, it's locked in the back and stuff, but like, if this is what you're shooting for, you're not going to make it past like 2 years because it's not going to look like this anymore.
Yes, I love that. Understanding your why. Why do you have locks? If someone was to ask you why did you lock your hair, can you answer that without saying so and so or I saw this person? Which those are not horrible reasons, but I think it's deeper than that for you to be able to progress on the journey. Something else, I'm very big on this channel. I talk about do your research, educate yourself, learn about hair. There's a book I read called The Science of Black Hair, which blew my mind. It talks about earlier when you mentioned like the coil patterns and what our hair needs, the anatomy of black hair strands or textured hair strands. It'll just give you insight into what your hair needs. Make sure that when you're putting a product in your hair, you know exactly why you're putting it in your hair. Not because somebody told you to, or not because so-and-so says that it does that. If somebody is using a moisturizing oil, doesn't mean that your hair needs moisture. Your hair could be good on moisture. There are people who don't use oils in their locks because their hair is just fine the way it is. Let's talk a little bit about the products we use. What products do you use on your routine? So we can get a sense of what each routine looks like.
Can I say something before I talk about the products?
Yeah.
It's also okay to take a look at other people's hair. Like she was saying, it's okay to be like, oh yeah, I got locks because I saw. Because and the reason why I say that is because why else are we fighting for so much representation?
Yes.
Like Black people, we're trying to get representation everywhere. And when you see, like, some people might have been like, I didn't even know that we, like, wait a minute, that might be the solution. I never even know that. I never even saw that. So I would say that, like, that's one cool thing about being able to see all these people with locks and being inspired by that. Products I use on my hair. I use a shampoo on my hair, which I changed a couple of times. I think, and if you follow me or you subscribe, you'll get to see this experience coming up. I think I'm not going to be using shampoos anymore. Because when I was natural, I used diluted apple cider vinegar. I never bought shampoo ever. Like, that's all that I ever used on my hair. And I never really, like, I would do that and I would clarify my scalp with that every 2 to 4 weeks. And then other than that, I would just co-wash. And I'm still trying to find, and I'm about to, again, it's in my cart. I'm about to order Laura's product because it's an apple cider vinegar shampoo. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that the products I've been using so far, it's not responding well to my scalp over a long period of time. Like, I've been using the Melanin Hair Care shampoo, and I think that that's one of the things that's causing buildup at the base of my locks. And so I'm going to try cleansing and clarifying my scalp with only apple cider vinegar to see if it'll get rid of the buildup. I'll record it and I'm going to post that video. And just see if that's going to be a good solution for me moving forward. I mean, also, it's like really a lot cheaper, but I know there's some nutrients that are in shampoo and like soaps that will cleanse the locks, whereas natural hair maybe wouldn't have had the problem with the buildup getting inside like the locks would. So I might not be able to do that like long term, but I'm going to see if maybe switching to an apple cider vinegar and then trying apple cider vinegar shampoo will help me in that. I originally started with a clarifying like tea tree shampoo, which I liked a lot. So I think I'm gonna have to let Melanin Hair Care go because it's just too much slippage and too much moisturizing in the shampoo. That shampoo would be really good for loose natural hair. And my daughter's hair benefits from it and some of my friends because it has slip, but it's just building up on the base of my locks. And then I also use it's a light, what they call it, like a oil, like a light oil mist or something like that. It's literally only for sheen. It doesn't really do anything else for your hair, but I like the way that it makes my hair look. And then I use, in addition to that, I just use a light oil on my scalp periodically in the areas where I get the most dry patches. So my routine is pretty much that, like, I will braid my hair and band it. I will wash and cleanse my scalp. I used to do 2 passes of that. I'll let it dry completely. I will do a light oil, mainly just like right here is the only place that I really put it because that's the part that I get dry scalp at. And then throughout the week, I will spray with water and sometimes with the oil mist, and that's all I do. I put on my hair.
I love it. And I use a clarifying shampoo. Has to be clarifying shampoo because I have thick hair and I need something that's going to be able to get that buildup out, I use rose water in between washes just to maintain the moisture. I also use an oil. My scalp tends to need more moisture in the drier seasons. I live in a very cold area. So in the winter months, I'm using an oil periodically during the summer just because of how my scalp is set up. Because I have very thick, I would say coily hair, moisture doesn't make it to the scalp of my hair. So I have to do extra to make sure that something hits the base of my hair, which is why I'm intentional about oiling it and using a rose water mist. And as far as shampoos, I don't use anything with moisture or too moisturizing as well for the same reason you do. It creates buildup in my hair. And when I had starter locks, it would cause my locks to unravel. And I didn't have time for that. So you can see what our routines look like and the things that we use. Some people use waxes in their hair. Some people use edge control. Some people use gels. People use all kinds of things. Some people use hair grease. I mean, whatever.
I think me and Laura are both team. We don't do our edges.
Yeah, I just let my yeah, I don't. My hair can't handle the buildup. I did try with the edge control, and I will never again because it took way too long to get off. And it's not my aesthetic. It's not really. I like the thick. Yeah, look.
I'm just gonna have to have nappy edges. It's just gonna have to. I don't do the edges. I don't do the loop de loops and swoop de swoops. My sister does, but no, I can't. I don't even know. I'm trying to think of an example, but no.
If it can stay, mine can't really stay.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's like my hair texture. All it does is curls up and makes like beady beads on the ends, and then it looks all like no, it's okay. I'm good.
Yes, I love my inspiration. The look that I go for is, I don't know if you remember Lauryn Hill in the 90s when she had like the very thick, the new growth that looked like it.
Yeah. Lauryn Hill needed a retwist all the time. And she never was getting, I'm like, Lauren, like now looking back, I'm like, now listen, she was always needing a retwist. Not a good
borderline.
Listen, always about needing a retwist. You're right about that. Look, I'm gonna go look back at her album.
Zero parts.
Yeah, no grid. Always needing a retwist. She was living her best life.
That's the look I'm going for. That is so funny. Next, we're going to talk about mistakes because we could have had a perfect journey so far.
Well, my number one mistake was trying to do a rinse on my own hair, and I didn't braid and band, and I caused a lot of damage, and I actually lost a lot because of that. I don't really think the mistake was as much like the non-braiding and banding part, but the rinse in general. That comes back from like I kind of should have known better. Given like what a rinse is. And if you don't know what a rinse is, it's just like basically like a waxy like coating on your hair to give it a certain color, or if you do clear, it's just to give it a certain sheen. And I did that without banding on my hair at about 11 months, and it just really didn't work out. It caused like a lot of damage and stuff. Another thing I would say that I did as far as like making a mistake was that so I did too much manipulation. I pulled and I would do this and I would braid this and I would, put this in rollers and stuff like that. And now I kind of figured out what works for my hair. Like if I do want it to have some curl and stuff, but I pretty much have gotten to the point where I like leave my hair alone a lot. I read this post by a lady and I like screenshot it on my phone, and she's like, if you have fine hair and locks, this is like, this is the golden information. And then once she said that on there, she was like, do not try to have the least amount of manipulation as possible, because your hair will tend to react negatively to that. It'll cause you to have slippage and it'll cause you to have bunching and breakage and stuff. And then I would say like another thing that I would say that it's a mistake that I made, and it's not like on my own hair, but I think that I was too, like in my own mind, judgmental towards other people's life journeys. And because as I was going through, I was like, okay, I know this and I knew this and I knew that. I was just more like, people would post it, they would say like they did this or that. And I was like, I knew all the facts, right? And I wasn't really like in the spirit that I am now, where it's like your journey and you're trying to figure it out. And everything was like the word of the loctician, right? This is the way it is. And this is what this person said and what that person said. And I think that in part of the journey, it caused me like not really to enjoy it as much, because I was too scared that I was messing stuff up to really embrace the journey and learn from it. And so once I was able to relax, I think that helped a lot. And the things like, causing all that slippage from manipulation and pulling, and then also even like the rinse, I'm glad that they happened because they helped me learn. And I think that also sharing those experiences with other people helped other people be able to see, okay, yeah, maybe I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. And so, and they also gave me these sweet babies. These, everybody knows how much I hate these guys that like stick down really low right here. I'm gonna cut them off eventually, but these are locks that had to get repaired because that my optician had to fill in holes or like fix the like repair. And for some reason, when you repair locks, they lose their bounce. They like stay straight.
Yes.
So, anyways, these are my my scars. Scars from the past mistake that I have made, but
I think they look great.
Yeah, I usually like really don't worry about it. It's just they are kind of annoying, but what I'll do is I'll like go across the back of my hair and I just pin them underneath. But I'm just trying to wait a little bit longer until my hair is more locked because I'm about to be like, and I'm taking them off so that it'll be more like the same length of across the back, because they kind of bother me.
What's so funny about you pinning those up? So in my hair before it was more mature. I can't say it's mature, but before it was more mature than it was at the starter lock phase, or as it is right now. What am I trying to say? Before my hair got to the phase it's in right now,
right. Yes, I'm following you.
Mullet look.
Mullet.
Yeah. I used to take the back long pieces and I used to pin them up and Bobby pinned them in, so it wasn't so obvious that the back of my hair was was long and the front of my hair was short.
You should have left your mullet and moved down here to Arkansas, and we could give you a double name. Laura Joe, Laura Grace, something like that. You could have fit right in with us with your double name and your mullet, no shoes.
Because it's not going in the Midwest, right?
We could have taken you to the rodeo.
Very soon it will even up. My mistakes have been coloring my hair way too soon. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand that locks absorb things, and the color stayed in my hair for a while, which I feel like caused damage. When I was interlocking my hair to begin with, when I was learning, I didn't pay attention to the direction of the rotation. So you know how you go like up, down, left, right, or up, right, or up, left. I just kind of went wherever, and I created some holes in some of my locks, which right now I can't really do anything about. I just have to wait till my hair grows out or figure out a solution. I tried to combine my locks without really doing more research, and this was a problem because over time my locks have gotten thicker. So the locks that I combined ended up being way too thick over time because my hair thickened up anyway. So I wish I would have waited. What else have I done? I love a good half up, half down hairstyle. I would literally, before my hair could fit, would pull it to fit into the half up, half down. And especially when my hair was frizzy, I was doing anything to get it to slick down. So I would put it in these tight ponytails, but then that messed with my edges. So I'm still trying to have those grow back. So those are my mistakes. So if you're listening, if you're making mistakes, it's okay. You will be fine. You just keep it moving and your hair will eventually do what it needs to do. To finish
that too, I tried to interlock one of mine. It has a hole in it. So that's a good thing. That's a good point you were saying. Is I don't think we've discussed that at all. But like if you're interlocking yourself, pay attention to your rotation. So what? Like I know there's some pretty good tutorials. You have one about like how to interlock, like retighten your own hair. Because I only did one lock and it took me a century to do it, and I still ended up with the hole in it. So now it's almost gotten to the point where it's out enough. That she can fix it. And a lot of times the holes will be like at the base of the lock. And she was like, yeah, you did a good job, except for now there's a hole in it. And I was like, that nabbit. I thought I really was doing something. So that's a good point that you were saying. But you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that's how it is in the beginning. I was going to take us to the last one. what are other things that have helped you during your starter lock journey, during your lock journey? Something that you can share with people who are watching today for the discouraged sister or brother who's locked and is trying to either maintain their locks or continue on with this journey.
I would have to just say, like, first off, it's not always gonna be happy, and that's okay. Like, I know that like people kind of make it seem like, it's always great and I'm always like, feeling myself and all my hair. But like, I mean, up until now in your life, you probably haven't always been satisfied with what your hair is doing, even when it was natural or relaxed or you had braids or whatever. Like, there's just some frustrating things that happen with your hair. You get tired of stuff, and it's okay to get tired of your hair. Now locks are much more like, it's a bigger commitment than just like going and like combing them out. So I would say like be okay with taking breaks. I mean, if you want to cover your hair up for a while or something like that, or just put it in a protective lock style, maybe put your twist in some twists. Just make sure they don't end up like staying together or something like that to give yourself a break. I think that's all good. The other thing I would say is that like find a community that works for you of people, just like with anything else. Like I know that your hair is not necessarily a hobby, but it is a thing that you're putting up quite a bit of effort into, especially at the start of like phase. It's like your children, right? They take more effort whenever they're smaller than when they get bigger and they get more independent. And so wherever it is that you tend to be able to find community, for me, I feel like the most useful places, but also dangerous places, have been Facebook groups. If you're into Facebook, just because it's good because you get to see a variety of opinions, but it's bad because then you get to see a variety of opinions. But you can kind of like, there's got to be hundreds of groups now, maybe not hundreds, but a lot of groups with a lot of people. I'm talking thousands, 50,000. I think one of the groups I'm in has in it. And I even have a group, if your hair is like fine, there's a lot of women in there posting, asking questions about experiences with fine hair. But I would say like find that if it's Instagram for you and you want to watch the reels and stuff like that, you just don't get to post questions on Instagram, but you might be able to DM somebody and they might answer you. YouTube and like the comments, like pick us, I guess, the location where you can build a community that will be a good support to you. I mean, whenever you're getting down and you're feeling frustrated, I have a parallel example to that. Like when I was learning Spanish, like my family was like, "What are you doing? Like that's weird. Like why would you be doing that?" And I was in my car, listening to bachata and like stuff like that. Just being me. But like I just turned to like, okay, let me find a community of people who are doing what I'm doing, so that I can have somebody to practice with and like ask questions to when I'm feeling frustrated. That I finally got an authentic conversation and I like forgot everything, you know. So just find a community and stick with that community. And then I would say my last tip for you is to take pictures of your locks. And I even know, I feel like a couple people have come out with even like lock journals if you're into that. But you could also just have a notebook where you just like, at this, if you're self retightening, at this retighten, I noticed this, and this, and this is how I'm feeling about it right now. And then snapshot a picture, because a lot of times your frustrations at the beginning is about what it looks like. And then the experiences that you're having that are going wrong, not what's going right. And so, I think you'll find that you're having less issues as time goes past, and you can see the records of that. And then I think you'll find that like, you're like, oh my gosh, but my hair looks so different than it even did 2 washes ago, which would have been like maybe a month ago, than it did this time. And that progress, when you look back, is like so cool. Again, like a child, my daughter changed every day. I felt like when she was little. Now she's 3 and she's sassing me. And you get ready, Laura, because
Ready for it.
it was like, mom, Ackley, when my dad gets here, he's gonna let me watch his phone. It's like, okay, well, Ackley, cool, so, but it seems like that, and she's at that stage. So take pictures, mark your progress in videos too. In the same pose. Sometimes I'll pose in the same exact way just to see that profile, and stuff like that. So that's what I would say.
I'm going to echo that. You'd be surprised how much your locks change. We don't realize it when we're seeing it every day. Something else, I think this goes against what I might have said earlier before, but I think it might be helpful to learn about everybody's journey or people's journeys, to just see the differences and what they're experiencing. I think the more you're able, I watch sister lock journeys, I watch freeform journeys, I watch everybody's journey just to get a sense of what's changing, what's happening, because you never know. Like something that someone might be experiencing, you might be experiencing. And also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Tanielle, you just said that, but ask questions if there's something that you're unsure of or something you want to know more about. People might answer a DM, but they might answer comments. Both of us have channels, and I think we're pretty responsive with our comments. So comment whenever we have stuff up. We might be able to connect you with a resource, or we might even be able to share with you our experience, but really get connected. Just echoing what Tanielle had said, and you'd be surprised the information that you learn. And also be patient. I know it's hard to say, and it's hard when you're in it, but your hair will lock. Eventually it's going to lock. It might not happen this year and next year. Throw away those my lock journey in 3 years videos. I stayed up all night watching everybody month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, and comparing my own. Eventually your hair is gonna lock. It's just hard to say. I feel like I spent so much time waiting for my hair to lock that I didn't enjoy my hair in each phase that it was in, and I didn't just relax. So enjoy every process, every moment. Eventually you're gonna see your hair locking and it'll be all good.
I have a question for you that might be helpful to people. Who do you like watching on YouTube and their journeys? And I mean, I don't know. You probably have a lot of them, but just
yes. So Stay Golden is one person. I like watching your channel too. You guys, Tanielle's channel is like entertainment for me. It just feels so personal, and even though I don't have fine is low density hair and I don't have sister locks, I learn a lot from your experience, because then it helps me. If I know that you're experiencing one thing, then I think about the opposite of it, and I know, okay, then I'm on the opposite end. Yanni the locogolist is someone who I absolutely love. She actually specializes in doing locks. She does locks and she takes a more natural approach. She talks about errors that other locticians make when they're taking care of locks and what locks actually need. I think she's from the islands somewhere, so she also has that background where she's familiar with locks from that perspective beyond the mainstream locks that have come into the community. I'm trying to think who else. I also forgot to mention Nicole. I'm gonna link her channel before.
Oh yeah, Nicole.
Yes,
she's
Nicole
so funny.
Had text-laxed hair and she's semi-free forming. I've yet to try the onion juice that she uses on her hair to condition her hair.
And she said she does like a soft retighten. She just really like talking about a channel that's really real. It's literally like you just sitting on her front porch with her, just like, she's like, yeah, girl. And then so you're like, I found myself one time, no lie, I would say something back because it's just like she's talking to you, like you're having
another video.
Yeah, I'm like, what's it, girl?
Who do you watch?
I'm so bad about their names, like it's so bad. But I would say I like watching Lena's Lovely Locs. I like watching her channel. She's really sweet, and like her last video about the lock report. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
She did this. She's doing the weekly lock news.
Oh.
Like all the drama and like what happened with this person, what new videos are out. Like,
oh wow,
yeah, it's super funny. She's just really, really funny and entertaining. So I like watching her videos. I watch your videos because, like I told you, your videos are like a vibe. Like I can listen to them and it's like calming and stuff. It's the opposite of everything that I am, and so like it just makes me feel I don't know. And you have just such a really good way of delivering information that's so like I know that the information that comes from you is well thought out and objective, and I really appreciate that. It's not a lot of opinion. It's a lot of like actual, like really, really good facts. I like watching, I think it's Takara. Some people say Takara. I've been watching her lately. I hadn't been before, but she's had a microlocs journey for a few years, and like I guess it's a jungle in there. And so her trying to figure out like repairing her locks, so she had to cut some or whatever, and just kind of what can go wrong is what I've been following her for. I was watching Let's Journey. I really like watching people who have like something else that they do with their, their perspective. Like Takara is like in college and she's only 20. Versus you versus like Lena, who's like a teacher and she has children and stuff. And there's another lady whose videos I was watching, and I forgot her channel name, but she's in my subscription, so it always just pops up. but she got Sister Locs, but she makes videos in English and Spanish. And so,
Ooh.
yeah, but she's in the UK, but she hasn't been making Spanish videos lately. She said people aren't really watching them, which makes sense because it's not like there's a lot of people who speak Spanish. And if they do, they probably speak English too. So I like watching her videos. And then there was a girl I was watching, Journey with Asia.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's really cute. She was in like Korea or something like that for a while, but she's really entertaining too. She's just seeing like also her living her life with her sister Locs in, you know, Korea and like what her journey and stuff was like. So
Yeah.
yeah, but other than that, you will catch me watching people cooking on YouTube. That's mainly what I watch on YouTube is cooking videos, even more than Locs. So, but those are some of the people I watch with Locs though. There was another girl and she changed her channel name. It was oh no, I can't remember. But she's the person that I actually first started watching her videos, and she had microlocs. And she would say, "This is such and such with another video." That's how she started at the beginning of every video. But now she's changed it to a vlog channel. So I liked watching her videos.
Yeah, we will link all these channels below. I'll link them so you can refer back to them depending on where you are on your loc journey, what kind of locs that you have. But I think that concludes the conversation. I think we've talked a lot. We can talk about locs, I feel like, for hours
Right.
and not lack content to talk about. But thank you so much for watching today's video. Check out Locs So Fine on YouTube for great and amazing content. You've got to meet her live here and see her personality. This is her channel. It's very conversational, very laid back. You're definitely going to enjoy it. Otherwise, we will see you in the next video.